Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 23 of the Give 'em Heck podcast. I'm Brian. This is your host, Penny. And as always, we're very happy to have our returning viewers come in. We're very happy to have you here and welcome any new viewers. We have something interesting for you today. I don't know what it is, but my mother took some inspiration from some videos that I showed her. So I have an idea.
Yeah, I normally don't do that.
But I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea what you've got. What you've got cooking up. So I'm actually kind of interested because these videos I showed her were pretty good. They hit home on a lot of good points. Mm-hmm. But I'm very interested to see what we got going today.
Yeah. So again, welcome to our regular viewers and welcome to any new viewers that we may have. I also want to just talk about really quick that this will be the last week that we're going to offer the $20 electronic gift card from Amazon. Again, all you have to do is tell us which episode you watched, why you like it, and how it helped you specifically. You can do this at the giveemheck@gmail.com, and then we will decide on who the winner will be. And again, this will be the last week because I think this is now 4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, this will be the 4th week. So yeah, if you want to give a comment or what would you call it? Explain, what that video meant to you and how it changed you specifically. However you feel to do that, just go ahead and do that.
I think I have an idea of what we can do in the future instead of making it more like a competition.
Okay.
But we'll worry about that when the time comes. And we're not upset that nobody said anything well, we've had comments, but nobody nothing like what we
kind of were looking for.
Nothing like what we're looking
Yeah.
for. Like people have talked to me about it, but nobody's ever been like, hey, this is what happened during that one video. And this is, nobody went into full detail like that, but we're not upset about it.
No.
But I have other ideas in store. So we'll talk about that at a later date, though.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so we are going to, again, start with our disclaimer that we are not doctors, psychologists, or counselors. We're not given any medical or psychological advice. We're just simply here to discuss real-life situations to give hope, encouragement, and instill change. So, last week's episode, we talked about leaving the legacy. So we talked about how everyone can leave a legacy, but it's about leaving the legacy. The kind of legacy you leave is what really matters. So I had asked you, Brian, and if you want to kind of reiterate or maybe give a little bit more detail on that, I had asked you, what does leaving the legacy mean to you?
Obviously, I can't remember everything I said word for word, but I think it had something along the lines of like leaving a legacy that others will remember.
Yeah.
Like a positive legacy that revolved around me. It wasn't a specific thing. It was just...
Right, it wasn't.
That guy was always there when I needed him.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I really don't have much to, gleam on that topic. And I think one of the reasons, because usually I can remember everything, but last week's episode was intense.
Last week's episode, yeah, it was.
That was intense.
I was like holding my breath a few times, wondering where you're going, and yeah, but you did good.
Yeah,
it was.
I tried.
I know.
I don't know if anybody. I mean, well, no, that's not true. I had some people say, because a lot of people that know me more in depth, they knew where I wanted to go.
Yes. I knew where you wanted to go, and I'm like, rein it back, friend.
Yeah, so I had to hold myself back pretty hard on that one, but no, that was a good episode.
It was.
So if you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we are going to discuss a little bit more about that and then get into our episode for today. So we had talked about how the world was, and that the world that we live in is shaped by the people that lived before us. And we talked a little bit how, like my mom and dad, your Nana and Papa, I had mentioned how the legacy that they left me was associated with their beliefs, their values, their moral, and their character. Mm-hmm. That it is the embodiment of life's accomplishments, values, choices, and how we shape the way one is remembered and continued through the influence in the world long after they are gone. And it's basically all of those things that they've brought to your life. And I had said to you, Brian, that I hope that I have left the legacy for you, that when I'm gone, my character, the morals, the values that you have seen in us will help to guide and direct you in your life.
Well, there's always two paths a person can go when they deal with struggle in their life. I've latched on to the legacy that you and Dad have built in my life because you guys have taught me a few things in my life, but it was also the hardships of life itself that built upon those. Because it's very easy to, I guess you could, in a manner of speaking, forge your own destiny when life is good. But when life is hard, there's two roads you can take. You can either choose to grow up and be angry and bitter, or you could choose to let those hardships form you into a better person, a better character. It's character development.
It is, absolutely.
And this is just my personal opinion, because I've seen it in a lot of other people that have gone through similar things than me, or as me in life. But people who oftentimes grow up very angry and bitter at the world because of their life circumstances are oftentimes people that desire to be the victim.
Oh, absolutely.
And I refuse to be a victim. If you let your emotions...
And we talked about emotions and feelings.
Yep. If you let your emotions determine your character based on your past or situations that you've gone through recently, it shows a very heavy victim mentality, and it puts you in a position where, woe is me, feel bad for me. And you know what the old saying is, misery loves company. And they oftentimes will revolve themselves around other people of similar mindsets, where I surround myself with people with opposite mindsets. Oftentimes dealing with similar or the same struggles as me, because if I can get through it, I know they can.
Right. And you had mentioned, having two paths. And you said that when life is easy, and I'm making a point here, when life is easy, I'm taking you as an example, Brian. I'm sure that there are things that you are forging your own way, right? Because even though...
everybody has choice and free will. Exactly.
And even though Dad and I have instilled, I hope, the right character and values and morals and beliefs in you, you still have a choice.
Everybody does.
Right? Because you still are an individual, even though we've kind of made that path before you. So I say that to say this. In the good times, I know it's easy for you to maybe do your own thing. My hope is that when we're gone, it's through the hard times that you look back and you say, well, Mom and Dad taught me that this is what I should do to carry on. For example, I know like through the hardships that myself, and I know you and Dad have been a part of it, living through the loss of my mom and dad, a lot of things that got me through, believe it or not, was those things that my parents taught me. And one thing is that I had to keep telling myself that my parents wouldn't want me to not move on. It's those little things that you remember that they would have said to you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, leaving the legacy.
Yeah.
I mean, I always had a choice, right? Because I'm an individual, just as you are, to go do whatever. But then there's always that little voice in the back of your head, listening, hearing your mom or your dad say something that kind of brings you back into perspective of not letting the emotions get the best of you. But it's okay to have those feelings, but it comes to a point when you have to pick yourself up. And that's where you were talking about the victim mentality. You can leave yourself in that victim mentality for a long time. Face it, we've all lived trauma to some degree or another. But at some point, you have to pick yourself up and say, I have to change this.
And I know everybody goes through worse things than others.
Yes, I'm not demeaning that.
Exactly. We're not trying to make it sound like it's easy to get back. It's not.
It isn't.
Nobody ever promised anyone that life would be easy. Whether you believe that in a physical way or even a spiritual way, if anybody's watching that's spiritual, but the point of the matter is life is going to be hard.
It will.
Life is going to be very hard.
Yep.
It's like that saying, hope for the best, assume the worst.
Right.
And that's where personal strength comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody deals with things differently. 100% agree with that. But laying down is never the answer.
Right. Right.
Giving up is never the answer.
Right.
You can always get back up. You
Right.
always have that choice.
Right. And like you said, Brian, we've all been dealt with bad situations, trauma, if you want to label that, on your situation, that's fine. And I'll use the example again of myself. I know for me, after losing Mom, it took me probably, I'm going to say, a lot longer to get through it than it probably would have some people. I'm not going to say most, I'm going to say some.
Yeah.
And this is why I always say to be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay, but at some point, you have to.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people that I've personally talked to, they tend to get mad at people who don't get over things as quickly as they do, and vice versa. It works both ways. I'm not a very emotional person when it comes to things that happen outside of my personal bubble.
Yeah, you're not.
And a lot of people look at that and think, wow, how rude. It's what has happened to me throughout my life that's made me that way.
Well, life shapes you.
And what often happens is when my friends and even some family members that have seen that, I guess you could say that stone cold appearance, they oftentimes will come to me and ask me questions. And then when I start talking to them, it's almost like they realize that it wasn't what they thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. It's not that I'm cold and heartless. It's that I think I've said this in a prior episode. The best way I can describe myself is the strong, silent type.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really much of an outgoing person in crowds or in events and stuff like that. But I observe everything.
Right.
So when people approach me with their personal problems, when it comes to like serious situations,
mm-hmm.
a lot of times people will be like, I never saw it that way.
Right.
Like I was in two debates this week, and both people said in different ways, but they both basically said, you're the first person who's ever explained it in a way that I understand it.
Right. That's why I always say it's good to listen to other people's perspectives.
Exactly. It's good to listen.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you have to agree.
Quick to listen, slow to speak.
Absolutely. That's a good motive to live by. Sometimes saying nothing means you're saying everything. You have to know when to walk away, when to not say something. Those things are all balanced that we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and did you want to?
No, I'm done my point.
We're good. So I had left last week with a quote, as I always do, and we're not done. I'm reading last week's quote just in case someone that's watching tonight didn't see last week's, but of course you can go back and watch it. At the end of life, what really matters is not what we bought, but what we built. Not what we got, but what we shared. Not our competence, but our character. Not our success, but our significance. Live a life that matters. Live a life of love. And, we had talked about the love and hate thing last week, Brian, and I know you had said on several occasions that it's easy to hate. I understand that, but I think the world needs right now is a little bit more love, maybe a lot more.
No sensible person would deny that. And it's funny to me how in our world, and I'm going to try and stay on track here because this will make me go down a rabbit hole if I continue. But it's so funny to me that people's response to things they don't like is just instantly hatred. There is no understanding. There's no empathy. There's no there is no love in it. I mean, we see it in the world all the time. And it blows my mind to when somebody is being challenged through their opinions or their mindset or their feelings or what have you. People's first reaction is to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why though?
Right.
Like, there's a difference between being angry and being what is the right word? There was a word I had in my head and it just flew away. But for me, like when somebody challenges my viewpoints, I don't think to myself, what is wrong with you for thinking that way? You're wrong. No, I think to myself, well, I'm going to counter your points with my points.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I did in those 2 debates.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was like, usually I get a lot of people that come in here and they're just angry with me. And I'm like,
well, anger leads to hate.
yeah, it doesn't lead to... There's a difference between being angry for the sake of being angry, if somebody's challenging your viewpoints and you are struggling with cognitive dissonance, but there's also righteous anger.
Thank you.
Where
that's where I wanted you to go.
There's a point where anger is justified.
Yes.
But you have to know what that point is.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes through discipline, through knowledge,
yep.
wisdom, and even strength.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we've said, it's very easy to get angry.
And again, it's having a handle on your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Anger in itself is not bad.
No,
none of your emotions are bad. It's what you do with them.
Anger is a neutral thing. Like happiness can be a neutral thing. I can be happy for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's how I use it. Just like with every emotion can have a negative and a positive.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I don't know if I want to ask you this question because I kind of do. So what makes people that way? Like
what makes people angry for no reason?
Yeah. Like, did you ever wonder why? Like, let's say your debates. I think this is a great example. Mm-hmm. You're debating somebody, and all of a sudden they just get angry. Well, they get mad, then they get angry, then they get hostile. Then it just leads to one thing after another. Why? Is it because somewhere in their life, Brian, there wasn't somebody there to leave the right legacy for them?
I think it could lead. It has to do with that. Could lead. Obviously, there could be a lot of different reasons, but a lot of the reasons that I see is these people were brought up in life always being told they were wrong. So when they think they know something or have something right, and then something comes along to challenge it, those things come back to them, and they can't deal with being wrong. Oh. Now, that's not all the cases, but some of them, you know. Another reason could be that, again, cognitive dissonance. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's the feeling you get when somebody challenges your outlook on life and you have a negative response to it. Somebody challenging a viewpoint, somebody challenging your way of life. It could be a multitude of things. But a lot of time, I guess I could nail all of it down to just pride.
Mm-hmm.
Pride and arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
And notice I didn't say selfishness. I could have said selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I notice these people are wanting to know more, but they don't want the right knowledge. They only want the knowledge they are presented with, the knowledge they're looking for.
What's wrong?
They want justification in their mindset. This is why when I do my research on things, I get everybody's side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't just go to something that I believe and think to myself, that's going to be my fact, my truth. I'm going to tell you there's no such thing as your truth or their truth. There is the truth. Because if you set aside what is right and what is wrong, then where's your moral standing at that point? There is no truth.
Right.
And usually when you present people with the truth that is against their truth,
Yeah.
it's always a negative response.
Why? What's wrong with being wrong? For example, you and I talk a lot, Brian. There are times that I tell you things and it gives you a different perspective and you realize that you were wrong and vice versa. But we don't get mad at each other. So here's the thing. What's wrong with finding out the truth and it's different than what you thought or is, and now you have found out the truth? I want to know the truth. I'm not going to get mad over it.
The easiest thing I can say, though, because what was your question? Why?
Why do people get mad when they're confronted with the truth?
Because it's uncomfortable.
So you want to be lied to?
People would rather live with a comfortable lie than a hurtful truth. It's literally just that.
But then you're living an illusion.
No, you're living a lie. You're living in a false reality.
Okay, I guess I understand what you're saying. I just can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, no,
it makes no sense to me.
It takes a lot to get to that point, and there's always something that has happened in that person's life that led them to that. They didn't just wake up one day and said, I'm going to believe that grass is blue, and anybody that tells me, otherwise is going to be, ridiculed for it. No. Something happened in that person's life to bring them to that point. Now, whether or not they need, help, like therapy, obviously that's something that's up to them. But in my case, because I've met some very hostile people in my debates, and especially when I present them with a point that they can't disprove because it's correct, they'll oftentimes rebuttal with pure and utter hostility. And I'm not even talking about calling me names. I've had death threats.
Oh, I know you have.
And that's the point is, and I'm like you, I don't understand why you need to go that far. Why you need to get to a point where violence is the answer when it's not.
Well, what's it going to prove?
It doesn't prove anything.
It doesn't solve anything.
It's like, to these people, it's like removing a splinter. It's just removing something that's uncomfortable. It has nothing to do whether or not it means anything. It's just, I don't like this thing, therefore it must go. That's literally it. It makes no sense to me, and I think it shows weakness. It shows very heavy weakness, a lack of maturity, a lack of self-respect, a lack of discipline, and that person needs to put themselves in a position where they humble themselves.
Obviously, there was guidance that was mismanaged somewhere along the way.
And that's what I mean when I say something happened in that person's life that brought them to that point. Because nobody just wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to believe a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're being lied to. See how I just went to another layer?
Oh my, I know. And we've been dealing with this subject for a while now because you and I are digging hard.
Yep.
And I don't know, I'll give you a little bit of an example and you can tell me, Brian, if you think that this is kind of along the point of what we're talking about. But I remember I was quite young. I'm going to say maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I did something to get my way. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the one part I do remember about it is Dad pulled me aside and we were sitting there, and he wasn't mean to me. He just told me, he said, Penny, you know what you did wrong? And I said, yep, I do. And he said, why did you do it? And I said, well, because this is what I wanted. And I got what I wanted. And he said, do you think 2 wrongs make a right? And I said, what do you mean? He said, was it right for you to do what you did to get what you wanted? But see how it made me stop and think? He was trying to prove a point that you just don't do what you want to do to get what you want, even at the expense of hurting someone else. Now, I didn't hurt anybody physically. That's not where we went with this. But even at a young age, he was teaching me morals. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what I'm talking about when I say somewhere along the way, these people were not shown that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Could have been, it could stem from anything from something that happened to them personally. It could have been family matters. It could have been life circumstances outside of the home. It could have been a multitude of things. But like I said, it's consistent with something happening in their lives that brought them to that mindset.
Yeah, because
And without the proper guidance, you always forge yourself a path that leads closer to self-righteousness than it does to anything else, because anything that we can do for ourselves feels good.
Yeah.
And that's really what it stems down to. It's selfishness.
It is.
It's pride.
And that's where I think Dad was at that point. Because, see, even like at 9 or 10 when that happened, me being the age that I am now, I still remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what I did.
Yeah.
But I remember the guidance that he was giving me. And in other words, he was saying, you don't hurt other people just to get what you want, because it's not okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah, those things do matter. So, moving on. Okay. So, in today's podcast, we're going to discuss still the legacy. Now, last week we talked about leaving the legacy. Today we're going to talk about living the legacy.
Mm.
Little different.
Mm-hmm.
Because leaving means you're gone. Living means the now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I do this every week, Brian, because I love your input, what does living the legacy mean to you?
Essentially, to me, it means putting your money where your mouth is. Living the life that you claim to live, not just when people are watching.
Integrity?
Yeah. Yeah. Being integral to your mindset, putting yourself in a position where you know this is what people think of you, and this is what people thought I was brought up with. And I'm not necessarily saying put on a fake face, because a lot of people thought that I was brought up differently. But when I say that, I can mean it in the purest way through an example of myself, like I normally do, is I uphold myself to a standard of honor, respect, and discipline. And I try to carry that with me in everywhere I go. And not just when people aren't watching.
And I can say that's very true of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had people say to me, when you're not around, those types of things about you.
Yeah. I always try to be real. I don't like being fake.
Well, why be fake? It's going to catch up anyway.
Oh, yeah. It always does. Being a fake person, because the act can only go on for so long.
There you go, the act.
But like I was saying, like the idea of living the legacy, it's putting in action, putting in work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like you going to your friends and being like, hey, I'm going to be at the gym tonight, and then you just never go, but you keep telling them you're going to the gym.
Right.
Eventually they're going to see you're not building any muscle, and they're going to be like, are you really living the life you're saying you live?
Right.
But then, you know, on that same note, you tell your friends you're going to the gym, and then you start coming back and you're more and more stacked, then people see that and be like, oh no, he's honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what I see it as. It's putting your money where your mouth is.
Being who you say you are.
Yeah.
That's good. So I looked up the definition of living the legacy. And this is what it said. It means consciously creating and embodying your lasting impact on the world during your lifetime, rather than waiting for it to happen after you're gone. It involves living with purpose by making positive daily choices, expressing your values through actions, fostering growth, and leaving a positive imprint on others through kindness, wisdom, and commitment to things that matter.
It's almost like there were some things I said that even aligned with that.
Did you write this dictionary?
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Things that matter. And I'll say that to say this, Brian, when you're talking about being who you are and how you treat others. You said last week a comment, and again, things you say sometimes just kind of resonate with me or throw me back a little, but this one resonated with me when you said, when does the person beside you matter?
Mm.
And then you said, you answered your question and you said, they always mattered. So how come there isn't enough kindness and love, caring, all of those things that people wish were in life today? Why aren't they there?
Well, on a personal level, like I said earlier, it could have been, just lack of guidance in their lives. But I kind of touched on this a little bit in the last episode when I had my rant. I think a lot of the problem in today's world, when it came to the rudeness that we see today and the lack of empathy for other people, had a lot to do with complacency. Like it's going back to that. I can't live in a world, or rather, I can't understand living in a world where we reward the wicked. And when I say reward the wicked, I'll use crime cases. I've listened to a lot of crime podcasts and stuff like that while I'm at work. And some of the things that these people do that they get away with just a slap on the wrist is infuriating to me. And I would go into detail on it, but this isn't a crime podcast. But I'm sure other people who keep up with, crime related things are probably in the same boat as me. Is like, our society has become way too complacent with bad people. It's kind of like parenting. You can have a person who wants to be a parent to their child, or a person who wants to be a friend to their child. And there's a time and a place to be a friend.
Bingo.
But when you're growing up and you're learning,
yes,
you have to learn there are consequences to your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, even in grown-up society, I don't see that discipline.
Mm-mm.
And that can be something as small as like just thievery from a store.
Yeah.
I have tremendous conviction when I even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was brought up with the concept of, even though it's just a $2 candy bar, this $1 million company is not going to lose anything from it.
That's not the point.
It's not the point. It's a moral standing. Because if I start small, where's the line drawn when I move up?
Yeah, because you've already given yourself the okay, the green light. Here we go.
Yeah, it's just a line that I myself refuse to cross.
Mm-hmm.
And your point of why the world is the way that it is because good people let it happen. We empathized with people who don't empathize.
Maybe because it's hard to wrap your head around that. I don't understand how people don't have empathy. But maybe because I have too much. I don't know.
And see, that's the problem, is that people who have empathy, who do sympathize with the unfortunate, will oftentimes overlook the wicked things they do because of that empathy. But there's a point where you cut it off and you say, that's not acceptable. There are consequences to your actions.
Right.
And that's the problem in today's society, is we let people get away with too much. And now they feel they can get away with whatever they want.
I understand.
In hurting people. Yep. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm not just talking about hurting people physically. I'm talking about emotionally, mentally. It happens in the home. It happens in everyday life. It happens at workplaces. I'm the kind of person, and I'll use this as another example. At one of my jobs, I had a terrible boss. I had a very bad boss. He was the kind of guy that that lived in a 4-car garage. Are you good?
I'm okay. I have a scratch in my throat. Sorry.
Oh, I was like, do you need some water?
Right, I'm good.
But he was the kind of guy that had like a 4-car garage, 3 pickup trucks, 4 snowmobiles, an indoor pool. You know what I'm saying? Just living a life that I only could dream of living. And he would come into work and be absolutely angry when something didn't go his way. Back then, I didn't do anything about it because I was raised, no offense to you or
Right.
Dad, but I was raised to show respect to people of higher authority. Now, if I was to go back in time and the way I live now, do you need some water?
No, I'm fine.
But if I was to go back in time and relive that, when he came in angry that one day, I wouldn't have let him get away with that. Because I've even said it in a prior episode further back. You put your pants on the exact same way I do. So what gives you the right
Right.
to treat me
Exactly.
that way? And now that I think about it, there actually was one job when I did speak up to my boss, and maybe we'll talk about that at a later date.
Another time.
But, and see, that's the point. There's a time and a place.
I'm sorry. I'm getting over
Do
a
you-
cold.
There's water right there.
Can you get me one?
Okay.
I'll get it. You talk.
Okay. Well, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. There's a time and a place to put yourself in a position where standing up for yourself and being the bad guy is appropriate. Because if you don't put yourself in a position of moral authority over physical authority, how much better does that make me to let them just get away with it? I'm basically letting the wicked have their way. But that's basically the point.
Sorry, guys. I'm getting over a cold. So, no, I understand what you're saying. It is true. And it is important to, like, there's nothing wrong with people having those things either. But
No, it wasn't the material items that got
that bothered
me,
you.
that bothered me. It was his attitude of how he treated me.
Right.
And I know you could say, well, yeah, he's your boss. He has that right. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. Nobody
he
has that right.
If anyone ever lets another human being, no matter what position, talk to them like he talked to me, that shouldn't be a thing.
Right.
I don't care what position you're in. If anything, and I've lived this because I've been in management positions, I oftentimes put my employees above myself.
Yeah, you do. I've seen it.
Because there's a difference between being a boss and being a leader.
That's true. Anybody can be a boss. Takes a lot more integrity to be a leader.
It takes a real person to be a leader.
Exactly. Sorry, guys, again. Hope this isn't annoying. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I'm getting over a cold. So, I know. Shame.
Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. Shame. So, every day we are living the legacy through our beliefs, values, morals, and character, and through the choices that we make. We make choices every day, the choice to change or not change, the choice to forgive or not forgive, the choice to love or the choice to hate. And we talked about a few minutes ago, Brian, with the world situation. I remember one day waking up and I said to your dad, again, because sometimes I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact of this empathy thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, I said, do you think there'll ever be a day when we wake up and things will just be better? When the world will just be normal again? I don't know what that means. I don't know if we can ever go back.
Are you looking for an answer from me?
Yeah. I just want life to
I
be.
don't think you want me to answer that.
Oh,
Because, again, it's the level of complacency that we've had where we've kind of let things go too far.
You can't rein it back?
Have you seen the world? Have you seen the state that everything is in? Like, the only... I'll put it to you like this. The only thing it takes for evil to prosper is for good people to do nothing.
You don't think there's good people out there trying?
Oh, I'm sure there are. But the voice of the many deafen the voice of the few. And the problem is when you have a society like we have today that's forged in a world of hatred, it's kind of hard to reestablish order. Now, I don't know what could be done to bring peace, love, and prosperity back into the world, but I know it's going to take more than what's happening now. Because again, evil prospers uncontested. Every single person you meet is angry, frustrated, bitter. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you're one of those people, one of those honest people that hold themselves in a position of discipline, honor, and respect, then do something about it. Stop letting people walk all over you. Stop letting people label you. Stop letting evil have its way. I don't know what that means. Maybe by the fullest extent of the law, if some law is being broken. But it starts with you. And, you know, we see people walking into restaurants demanding they have their way. And every time I see it, the employees are just being nice to this person. Kick them out. By force, if necessary. It's like this one person on TikTok that I follow. She's a barista, right?
What's a barista?
Coffee maker.
Oh, okay. She has one.
She works at one.
Oh, she works at... Okay.
Wow.
I've never heard of it like that. Okay.
You've never heard of a barista?
Not like that. No. Sorry.
Somebody who works at a cafe. Anyway, so she does story times of like situations that have happened.
Oh God.
And I remember this one that she did where, and I think it happens a lot apparently, because I have a friend that works at Starbucks and she said it's happened to her before, which baffles me. But she made a certain type of coffee, right? Mm-hmm. And she laid it on the counter, on the ready counter, and it was clearly labeled it had a person's name on it, what kind of coffee it was, mm-hmm. And some other random person just walked up to this cup and started drinking from it. And of course they didn't like it because it wasn't what they ordered. And they said, "This isn't my coffee." And then the barista was like, "Well, is your name this?" And they said, "No." They said, "Did you order this drink?" "No. That's not your drink." And then this person started throwing a huge fit, threw the coffee on the floor, demanded to see management, and she's like, sir, it's okay, we'll get your cup for you right away. Just being nice to him, and I'm sitting there, why are you being nice? See, that's what I meant when I said righteous anger. There's a time and a place. And I know some people would probably counter-argue and say, well, two wrongs don't make a right, or violence isn't the answer. So you're going to let that person just continue to have their way throughout their lives, making other people's lives absolutely miserable?
Well,
what's the counter? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What's the alternative?
Right.
You either teach this person that there are consequences to your actions. If you throw a cup of coffee on the floor that's not yours, not only are you going to pay for that, but you're going to pay for the one that you ordered, and then you're going to get out.
Right.
And call the police if necessary.
Right.
Teach people that there are consequences to their actions, and we don't see that. You go on YouTube and just type in, you know, I was going to say instant karma, but that kind of defeats the purpose. But I mean, you see it. People will do things that in reality nobody would ever do.
Oh, it's crazy. How old are you? How old is this person that threw the coffee on the floor? Why don't you look at the cup to see the name before you just assume that it's yours? I mean, there's so much wrong with this picture already.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
What are you, 5?
Exactly. There's just no common sense. Common sense is a superpower these days. But that's my point. You could relate that situation to anything wrong that you see in society, and it's just people getting away with things that they shouldn't be getting away with. Anything that results in the harm of society or the harm of a person needs to have a vicious and swift consequence.
Mm-hmm.
There should not be any room
for violence.
Yeah, there should be no room or no complacency for any negative impact on society.
Mm-hmm.
And we let it happen. We let it happen. That's the core factor here.
Wow. Well, I know last week you had mentioned about American values. How do you say it, Brian? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm. That's the American way.
I don't know. I hope it isn't all flushed down the toilet.
It's never too late to turn things around, but like I said, the only thing it takes for evil to prosper is for good people to do nothing. And I know you could say, well, what are you doing? Or what am I doing? Well, we're doing this podcast. I have debates almost weekly, changing people's minds like daily. And it's funny to me how the people that tend to have the most knowledge are the ones that are oftentimes the quietest.
Afraid to speak out? Afraid of retaliation?
Could be a lack of confidence. It could be a multitude of things. For me, I ain't afraid of nobody. I'll oppose your viewpoint whether you're, the king of England.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Because you put your pants on in the morning the same way I do. But my point is once we put ourselves in a position where I am higher than you, at that point, I should be pushed off that pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to use a spiritual saying. So if you are watching and you're not spiritual or religious in any way, I hope you can understand the point of this comment. But in Christianity, for example, all people, all men are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity is
humanity.
Equal. Exactly. When I think I'm better than somebody else because of whether I just think it or because I'm in a better position, again, I should be pushed off that pedestal.
Right.
And that's what I do. I want to have my own business someday.
Mm-hmm.
If I hire employees,
mm-hmm.
I will never look at them and expect more than what they are told to do. If they choose to go above and beyond, that's their choice.
Right.
But I'm not going to see a hard worker that may not be pushing the same weight as the person next to him and think, you're lazy. Right. Because that doesn't build anything. I look at all things to a line, just a standard. Just do your job.
Right.
Get it done.
Right.
I don't care if it takes you all day or all week. Because to me, if I value the time and the money more so than another human being, then what much better am I?
It's true.
You want efficiency, yes. I'm not arguing for lack of efficiency in a workplace environment, but it's the integrity of the human behind the work, or the human behind the words of a conversation. You can oftentimes know a lot about a person's character just on their beliefs alone.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't have to do anything. They can just say a sentence.
And you already know where they're coming from.
Exactly.
Who they are.
The integrity of their character.
Yeah. And you speak about business. So you know Papa had many businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a business myself. I remember when I opened my business, I asked Papa, my dad, I said, Dad, what is the one thing you live by with your business? And he said this. He said, never ask your employees to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself.
That's a good point.
And he would get down in the trenches with them too.
Yeah.
And he always told me, he said, don't think that you're ever so far up there on the totem pole when it comes to business management or having a business that you can't fall like the rest. He said, you're always one step away from falling off that cliff, and don't ever forget it. But what it did is it helped me to put things into perspective, to realize that I'm just as human as they are. They deserve just as much respect and, you know, the adoration of what comes from that business, even though I'm the owner.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter. Like you said, you're still a person. And I think that that's what a lot of humanity has lost today, Brian, is the humanity aspect.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people, and I've heard this, and if you work in customer service, you know exactly where I'm going to go with
That's
it.
the worst.
But customer service nowadays, people are treated more like machines than humans.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I worked in customer service, so I'm speaking from experience. The people that I would encounter were some of the meanest and most rude people I ever met. And eventually it got to the point where I would give them the same energy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, with the complacency thing, my supervisors would tell me, you need to be nicer to these people. And I'm like, why? If I have a person come up to my register and throw money at me or throw food at me, and I mean like throw their stuff down on the counter and be like, I don't have time to deal with anything. Just ring it through. Why don't I have the right to tell them to get out of my lane? Because they're going to give me $100 that somebody else can give me? Again, that's where the complacency comes in. We need to stop being complacent in the face of wickedness. And I'm not saying all these people were bad people, but like you come in with somebody who has just a terrible attitude towards you and is treating you like you're worse than the dirt at the bottom of their shoe, then why be complacent?
Right.
There are consequences to your actions. Treat others with respect, especially when you came into my store.
Mm-hmm.
You came to me.
Right.
I didn't ask you to come here.
Right.
If you're having a bad day, leave it at home.
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm. True.
And that's the problem with society as a whole. We don't treat each other with respect anymore.
No, we don't. We don't care about each other like we should.
And it personally makes me angry.
I can see
that. And
that.
I'm not just angry at the bad people. I'm angry at the good people that are being forced to deal with it.
Yeah. I get it. I just hope, Brian, that there can be a turnaround, because I worry about you and, you know, kids younger than you that are coming up, you know, in life. Again, what are you guys going to have to deal with?
Well, at some point there has to be accountability. Like I said, we need to stop rewarding bad behavior. We need to stop being complacent. And unfortunately, the younger generations are being brought up by parents who would rather be their friends than be their parents.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being your child's friend, but there's a point where that becomes more of the expectation. Like if I ever do have kids, between the ages of birth and 17, I'm going to be a parent.
Yes. That's how you and I were.
At the age of 18 and up,
we'll be friends. Yeah. And I think that's why you and I are such good friends today, Brian, because when you were a kid, you had to learn those things. If I didn't teach you, how would you have known? Somebody had to teach you.
Yep. So if you ever have a kid that's dealing with like bad behavior, it's not the child's fault. I'm just saying, because I can remember growing up. And if I did something wrong, there were consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing.
I was going to say, are you sorry for it or are you better for it?
I'm better for it. But again, we live in a world where good or bad actions are rewarded. So maybe the next time you have somebody approach you in a negative way, really stop and ask yourself, what are the consequences that I will bring forth if I allow this person to continue to get away with it? Because I sure as heck didn't do it. When I worked in some of my later jobs, like I haven't done it now because thank goodness the job I have now does not require me to be with the public too much. But in the jobs that I had before I was full-time, when I was like in customer service, I got to that point where I was just done being walked on.
Yeah, and you have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. See, again, that's another problem with society, is that we view being mean to mean people as a negative.
Right.
And the term that I've heard is, again, I think I said it earlier, is that two wrongs don't make a right, or violence is never the answer. Physical violence, yes. I mean, defend yourself if need be, but like in my case, if I was approached with somebody who had bad energy, I gave them the same energy back.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
And you want to know what? They never fired me from that job. You know why? Because I did my job and I did it well.
Mm-hmm.
And I legit, when I gave my 2 weeks notice to leave that job, I had employees of mine, because this was the job I had management position in, I had employees cry when I left. I got hugs from so many people that I thought didn't even care.
Yep.
But then they told me, it's not going to be the same here without you. See what an impact it can make?
Right.
When you put yourself below others.
Yep.
And you defend the weak. It puts you in such a position where people will honor and respect you, but I never let it get to my head.
That's a servant's heart, Ryan. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. And
That's awesome.
that's how I've always lived my life.
That's great. So, it's easy to go through life like you're coasting. Sometimes I feel like that's exactly what we're doing. We're just coasting. Our circumstances and how we deal with them are what makes and shapes us. Again, talking about handling circumstances, right? This is where living the legacy is so important. It's about making the most of every opportunity and using our time wisely. You have anything you want to add at this point?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So I've heard it said that the greatest tragedy is not a life that ends too soon, but a long life that was never truly lived. And I think that that's kind of where you were touching today, Brian. At what point, I mentioned to you, are we ever going to get it back? I hope so. Because it is about not losing. Yes, I know people go too soon. I get that. But the life that we have right now is what matters. And sadly, we think that we have an unlimited amount of tomorrows. Stop waiting to live, but start living a life that is worth and worthy of the time that you've been given. You often say, Brian, you're not promised a good life, you're just promised a life.
It's up to you to determine what you do with it.
Well, I understand what you're saying, my friend. But I hope things do turn around. I told you that you don't live in the world that I lived in. But I hope maybe someday there'll be a glimpse of it, and maybe even better.
I would rather live a short life of fulfillment than live a long life of misery. And that starts with me.
That's good.
And that starts with you. Every day when I wake up, I have the best intentions, even though I know that day may not go the way I want it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't let it hold me back from still living who I am as a person morally, mentally, emotionally. It doesn't change who I am. And it shouldn't change you either.
Mm-hmm.
If you let life dominate every aspect of yourself to where it changes you, changes the way you treat other people, that's when you need to take 2 steps back and look at the mirror and realize that you're no better than anybody else that lives in this world. Hold yourself to a standard of integrity.
Yep.
Because if you don't, it'll consume you.
Mm-hmm.
And turn you into something that you were avoiding the entire time.
The inevitable.
Oftentimes, we're our own worst enemies.
Exactly. We absolutely are. So I think we're going to wrap that up for tonight. Again, I apologize for the coughing and getting the water. I was hoping that I wasn't going to have any coughing fits because I'm on the tail end of the cold. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to need any water. Okay, big mistake. But again, I apologize. I'm sorry. And hopefully next week when we do this, I'll be 100%. I mean, I feel fine. I'm just the last residual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those types of things. But anyway, again, if you want to go to thegivemheck@gmail.com, tell us which episode you watched, why you like it, and how it helped you specifically. We are still looking to give away that $20 electronic gift card from Amazon. And again, I'm going to leave you with our quote that we always leave you. Believe in yourself, be patient with yourself, and know that your best is always good enough.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.